Do you guys like Lyrilisk? If the answer to that question is no, then I've got some very bad news for you, because Konami just released an entire archetype that supports it. And when I say supports it, I mean it potentially just makes it even stronger. Tri-Brigade is an archetype that in both the TCG, the OCG, even in Master Duel, basically every other format at some point was considered a tier 1 strategy. And we basically got given all the core pieces for it, all we didn't get was a skill. So this deck is looking really strong. And to further emphasize that point, when I took it onto the ladder, I played 10 games with it, and I won all 10 of them. So here's today's deck list. Now just a reminder before I get to the deck list, if you guys are enjoying today's video and want to see some more content and more deck lists just like this one in the future, I do have a Crystal Beast video planned tomorrow, so if you want to see that, please do remember to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel down below. Alright, let's jump into this deck list. So as per usual, I'm not going to go through every single card in this deck list, as obviously, you're probably well acquainted with what Lyrilisk does by now, so we're not going to bother with that stuff. We're just going to focus on the new cards, which is of course your Tri-Brigades. So all of your Tri-Brigade monsters share the same effect when they're on the field, where they can banish your Tri-type cards from the graveyard, which is your Winged Beasts, your Beasts, or your Beast Warriors, from the graveyard to summon out a Link monster equal to the amount of cards you banished. So if you banish 4 monsters from the graveyard, you can summon a Link 4. If you banish 2 monsters from the graveyard, you can summon a Link 2, etc, etc. And every single one of your Tri-Brigade monsters has that effect to do so. Alright, then they will come with a bonus effect. So your Fractal in hand can be sent to the graveyard to send a Tri-type card to the graveyard. So again, your Beast Warriors, Winged Beast, blah 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 blah. Your kit, when sent to the graveyard, can send another Tri-Brigade monster from deck to the graveyard, which could be your Navol. Navol, when sent to the graveyard, can search for a card from your deck list. So you can probably already see a very obvious combo here. Discard this card, sends your kit to the graveyard, kit then goes to the graveyard, sends your Navol to the grave, Navol then searches for a Tri-Brigade monster from your deck list, which could be your Karas. Karas can discard a Winged Beast from your hand or a Beast Warrior or whatever else to special summon itself to the field. And then you already have 4 materials in the graveyard to be banished from Karas to use for your various different Link monsters. And that can all be done without a normal summon. Alright, and finally, the final Tri-Brigade new card in here is your Revolt. Your Revolt can just special summon back your Winged Beast, Tri-Brigade, blah 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 blah, all the Tri-type cards from the graveyard, and then summon out a Link monster equal to the stuff you summon back. So you can summon back a Link 2 and a Link 2, make a Link 4, or you can summon back 3 level 1 monsters or whatever, make your Link 3. Basically, it just summons back resources and lets you do a Link summon, which is very cool, because it allows you to summon out your Link monster, Ominous Omen. This card, when summoned to the field, or when a Tri-Brigade monster or a Tri-type card is summoned to the field, you can banish a card on the field. Additionally, when it's sent to the graveyard, you can search your deck list for a Tri-type card. Alright, and the remaining Tri-Brigade cards, we have your Link 3. This card, most of the time, is just going to be used to clear up board space, or to be put in the graveyard for being able to use with a Revolt. But this card allows you during your opponent's turn to special summon a Tri-type monster from your hand. Also, when it's sent to the graveyard, you can reduce the attack of your opponent's monsters by 300. Then we have your Barren Blossom. This card is actually really important. This thing, when it's on the field, allows you to summon out, or it's basically a special summon out a Tri-type card from your hand straight to your field. Additionally, when it's in the graveyard or sent to the graveyard, you can take a card in your hand, put it back in your deck list in order to draw 1 card, which is also an important effect because you have a bunch of trap cards in here which you don't want to have in your hand when you do various discard effects, such as the effect of your Rampant Rampager. This card can discard 2 cards in your hand to take a banished monster and revive it, which is very important considering your Tri-Brigade monsters are banishing all the time. You can banish various Tri-Brigade monsters, then revive them using the effect of your Rampager. Rampager, when sent to the graveyard, can search for a copy of your Revolt from your deck list, and shuffle a card back in doing so. But keep in mind, when you use that second effect, it locks you out of doing special summons of non-Tri-Brigades for the rest of the turn, so that's typically the very last thing you do with your turn, otherwise you can't go into your various other Link summons. And the last thing to go through this deck list is of course the skill, Avaricious Avians. This skill is very simple. Basically you can use the skill's first effect once per turn and twice per duel. During your main phase, shuffle 3 cards including a winged beast monster from your graveyard or banish cards into the deck in order to draw 1 card. Very good skill for this deck. Obviously you're banishing a shit ton of cards very often, and also it means you don't have to have multiple duplicates in your extra deck, because a lot of your link monsters you can just sort of shuffle them back into the deck list and then just draw a card and have the resources in your deck list ready to use later on when you need them. So very important skill, especially considering the amount of link summoning this does. You're really going to want the shuffle effect from the skill. Alright guys, that's going to do it for the deck list portion of the video. The rest of the cards in the deck list you've probably all seen before. They're just various tech cards and stuff that you'll see plenty of times during the gameplay anyway if you haven't seen them before. And yeah, so without further ado, let me show you some gameplay of how to pilot this deck list. Alright, so as you can see, I played 10 games of this deck list. Of the 10 games I played, I won every single one of them, completely undefeated, didn't drop a single match. Which, to be fair, it was half the games were technically in Platinum, because the season reset midway through me recording, but that also means that everyone else reset, so it's like I'm playing against people in Legends, so take it with a grain of salt, because it is ladder gameplay, but I do think it shows this deck is at least somewhat decent. To what extent, that's for you to decide, or whatever else. We'll see how much this impacts the meta after a couple of weeks of gameplay, or a couple of days of gameplay at least, but it's looking pretty good, at least from my testing with it. So yeah, 10-0 win streak, and let's go check out the replays. So I also learned today, by the way, if you're wondering why the little win streak counter down the bottom is completely messed up, when the game resets, or their season resets, it also resets the win streak counter. So if you're wondering why it only shows up to a 4 or 5 game win streak in here, it's because the season reset and it ruined the win streak counter. But you can line up the names or anything if you don't believe the win streak, but yeah. Let's get into it. So I've recorded 4 replays to show you, and then after these 4 replays, I'll show 2 additional combos just against me playing against the gate, because I wasn't able to show off those specific starting hands with the 10 game win streak I got. So I'll just show you additionally those 2 combos at the end. Alright, because this deck is very combo orientated, so it's very good you actually learn the combos. So I've tried to gather at least 1 replay showing all the 4 main combos for the deck. Alright, so the first combo I'm going to show you is going to be simply a Fractal in combination with one of the Tri-type cards. So a Winged Beast, a Beast Warrior, or a whatever the third one is that I've forgotten. So activate the effect of the Fractal, sending your kit to graveyard, which sends you an Evolve. Evolve Search, grabbing your Karas. Karas discard, special summon itself. Now have 4 materials in graveyard to summon out your Link 4. Turn that into a Link 2, your Rampager, which gives you a Search from the Omen, grabbing your Wagtail. Rampager going to discard 2, making sure not to discard the Wagtail of course, summoning out the Navol. Alright, banishing 2, summoning out your Blossom, Blossom special summons. Wagtail searches your spell card. These 2 become your Recital Starling. Starling going to be detaching, giving you a Search, grabbing your Sparrow. These 2 become your Sheller. Alright, now we can use the Bird Call to summon, add to hand and special summon, giving you a Search from the deck, grabbing your Crow. Normal summon, these 2 become your Rhombin. And using all the effects, you can attach all the materials below it now. Attaching the Xyz, attaching the Wagtail. Using the effect of your skill to shuffle back for a draw as well. Making your Dry, whatever the plant's name is. I'm just going to call it Dry. Grabbing your trap card with the other card. Do have to shuffle a card back though, which is why we used the skill beforehand, so we had a card to shuffle back. And there is your end field. So you've got a full board-wide negation in Bloom. We have your Revolt to summon back 2 cards to banish a card on the field by summoning out your Omen, which you'll see in a little bit. And we have 4 bounces from your Robin. And it's completely untargetable, and we have DD Crow to banish the graveyard. So this combo was a very long one. Feel free to go back and rewind the video and watch through it a few times to try to get the combo down pat, because it's a very long one, and my one piece of advice to you when trying to do these combos is watch your link arrows. The positioning I did was very specific, because if you don't put them in specific positions, you clog up your links, and you can't actually summon using your Tri-Brigade monsters, so watch the link arrows, but once you've learned the combo, then you're good to go. And this is the main combo you use in most games. Alright, Cosmic Cyclone unfortunately hits the Bloom, so we can't use that. Alright, so I probably should have waited for him to use this thing's effect before chaining the Revolt, because it requires a discard to use the effect, so I probably should have waited a little bit here, but it's fine. I was always going to banish this thing, but he's got an extra card in hand that he would have to discard. Alright. Using the effect to banish a card, because we used the Sheller, we get to reduce the attack by 300 of your opponent's field. Alright, our opponent's going to try to summon some stuff to the field, but we have potentially 4 bounces from this thing. Unfortunately, it doesn't bounce all of them with the pen summon, only bounce one of the cards, but that's still fine. Robin going to be bouncing. He goes battle phase, didn't even bother trying to summon something else out because I was going to bounce it anyway. Alright, Robin going to be adding back to hand. And then during my turn, I can use the effect of my Dry Itinerary, or whatever the hell this thing's name is, to pop the Omen, which nukes 4 cards on the field. Triggers the effect of Omen to search a card, and we still have the skill, which recycles the Omen back to the extra deck, so I could use the skill, recycle it back, then draw a card. The Omen gives me a search, normal summon whatever I search, re-summon out the Omen again by just, the one we recycle, because we recycle it with the skill. Alright. Yeah, this deck is, it can be a little bit complex. I'm trying to be as simple as possible, but it's a very complex deck, so if you get a little bit overwhelmed by it, don't worry. It will take a while to learn, but once you do learn it, yeah, it's a really, really good deck. The only thing that I'm kind of worried about is hand traps. Like, meta-wise in tournaments and stuff, you come across a lot of people playing things like Lancia, like the artifact Lancia, then that might be a big problem. But anyway, second hand, or second combo for this deck, is going to take a Fractal plus access to your Warbler. So this could be your Bird Call, could be your Tenki to search for your Fractal, just some way to get Fractal and some way to get Warbler. Alright, so Tenki grabbing the Fractal, Fractal discarding, sending to your Sparrow to graveyard. Warbler can revive the Sparrow. Sparrow searching for your Navol. These two become your Starling. Starling can now search for the... Normally you would search for your Sapphire Swallow here, but we actually already had it in hand, so I'm just going to grab the Crow early. Alright, special summon these two. These two become your Baron Blossom. Navol can now banish 4 from graveyard, summoning out your Omen. Making the Rampager. Once again, getting 2 searches this time. Grabbing your kit, and grabbing your Fractal. Normally you'd grab the Crow here, this is when you'd search for Crow, but we'd already searched for it earlier, so I just searched for potential follow-up, I guess. Alright, kit summoned from the Blossom. Use the effect to make the Dragon Lords, making your Link 3. Now, the reason we make the Link 3 instead of leaving a card on the field is because, basically, if you leave the card on field, it means when you try to go into your copy of when you try to use your Revolt, you won't be able to do it because your field's clogged. You can technically bounce the card on field using or remove the card using your Dragon Lords, but the issue with that is if your opponent has an MST or a Cosmic, and they target your Revolt, and your field is clogged, you don't get to use it whatsoever before you get to use the Dragon Lord's effect. So it's a little bit risky, I don't like doing it, but you could technically leave a monster on field if you wanted to. It's also important to note with some of the combos, I can't remember if it counts for this one or not, but your Revolt can only summon back Link monsters that are summoned like properly, so you can't summon back Link monsters that were summoned via Tri-Brigade effects. So very important to keep the right resources in the graveyard. Alright. So making your Dry Itinerary, well, is that how you pronounce it? Dry Trend? I have no idea how to pronounce that thing. Making your Dry. Alright, searching the cards, shuffle them back, and setting 2 and passing. So we get to keep, unlike with the previous combo, we get to keep an extra 2 cards in hand, because we never needed to use the discard effect of the Rampager, which is really good, because we can keep extra tech cards in hand, especially considering we get the shuffle back with the Link 2. So we can shuffle back, potentially hit a tech card, and then keep it in hand. And of course, grab the 2 trap cards, and ending the turn. Alright, there's actually so much disruption. 2 hand traps in hand, got your big negate on field, got your banish ready, got your bounce ready. So much disruption. Revolt gonna be summoning back to banish this. Now the reason I did this one early wasn't actually a misplay, it's because I wanted to make sure he couldn't target the Bloom, because obviously activating Bloom in response didn't do anything, and I wanted to keep the negate around. Alright. Pendulum Rebellion, gonna be putting this dude in the extra deck. Alright, I have actually no idea what this card does, I've never read it, so I just immediately banished it. Or bounced it. No clue what it does, but I don't want to read it. Makes a Berserker. I don't really care about that. I'm gonna just bloom it. Alright, my turn comes back. Once again, I can just use the effect of my Dry Itinerary to pop the card and nuke the field. And it's all gone, although these two are actually protected for now. I'm then going to search for the Keras. Keras can discard a card, summon itself. Can use the skill again, because it's not even once per duel. To get an extra card draw. There's the Omen, and our opponent is conceding. I'm actually so surprised, also impressed by this skill. The fact the skill doesn't actually, isn't once per duel, it's just 2 free cards, which is kind of crazy. Especially in a deck like this, where you use up all your extra deck monsters so much, it's nice to have a way to, recycle them. Especially the Omen, that's a very important recycle, that one. Alright, up against Zane. I think this is the only going second replay I'm going to show. So, the main issue with this deck I'm finding is, 1, hand trap's going to be a problem, and 2, going second is very risky. You do have a bunch of tech card slots, but still, it's a little bit risky. Yeah, not too keen on going second with this deck compared to going first, but I think with a, like, even if you had like a 40% win rate going second, your going first win rate must be close to like some ridiculous number if you don't get hand trapped, so hopefully that's enough to make it a meta threat or a meta contender, but we'll see. Alright, so up against Drag Unity, which I am probably not making a video for because I don't really like the archetype too much. Well, I did like it until they released that deck build box, and it completely ruined the vibe completely by releasing it in a basically unplayable state. So even if it is playable now, it's just like a completely bad taste in my mouth, so probably not making a video on this one. Alright, so he does a whole bunch of combo-y stuff, and I think he just ends on a negate and the synchro, I think. Alright, so he activates the 10 key to try to bait out any negates. He just uses it, just straight up uses it, sure. Vertical, then we're going to use the droplet with the vertical to get rid of the only disruption he has left. And now he's in a very big spot of bother, because Warbler gets me a search. Or a special summon, sorry, to summon the Sparrow. Sparrow can now search for a copy of Navol. These two make Starling. Going to be detaching from the Starling for a search for these two. You would have seen this basically in the previous combo. Special summon this dude, making your Link. Navol summons your Link 4. These two become your Sheller. Blossom, Navol going to be searching. Grabbing a Fractal. Normal summoning, banishing another 2, making the Dragon Lords to remove another card. And yeah, just drawing an extra card here. He's so dead on field. Alright. So this deck does have the ability to go second, it's just, it's mostly reliant on drawing your tech cards, or drawing a more, maybe Lyrilisk focused hand, because Lyrilisk as an archetype is typically not as bad as going second as some other things, just because it has a lot of special summons just inbuilt into it, especially with Warbler, so Warbler and the quick play spell. Speaking of Lyrilisk, we've got one right here. And this was meant to say the 9-game win streak, but the stupid tracker is screwed up from season resetting. Alright, Fractal setting the Navol, Navol grabbing the Karaz, Karaz discarding, summoning, Kit gonna be sending, banishing 4, making the Link 4, making the Rampager. Alright, Rampager going to be summoning out, Navol going to be banishing another 2, making the Blossom, special summoning, Wagtail grabbing the spell, making the Starling, Starling going to be searching for the Monster Searcher. Alright, making your Link 3, using your Bird Call, Bird Call going to be searching for the Swallow, Swallow special summon, oh sorry yeah, special summon this with the spell, normal summon the Swallow. These to make your Robin, and then attach everything below it. You could put this in attack position if you wanted to, but after you use most of the materials below it, it gets pretty low on attack anyway, so I don't really bother. And if you don't need to use the materials below it, your opponent probably lost anyway, so... Alright, setting 2 and passing, and have my DD Crow in hand. So our opponent's going to try to use the Warbler. We're going to DD Crow the Spell Searcher. Robin going to be bouncing the card he just put on the field. He tried... this is funny, seeing a Lyrilisk player try to use Chalice on the Ensemble Robin, which we made untargetable thanks to the Sparrow. It's your combo! Anyway. We're going to be revolting to banish this card. Although I believe he has a way to deal with this, I think. He does. Yeah, you can chalice that one. That's okay. But yeah, he can't do anything here, because as soon as he summons out Starling, we're just going to bounce that one as well. 4 materials on this card is so disgusting. And we still have 2 more materials and the Bloom Negate ready in case our opponent did literally anything. Alright, so the first of the 2 combos I wasn't able to feature during the replay portion is going to be a 1-for-1 combo where you just open a single copy of 1-for-1. This combo can also be done by having access to Warbler in combination with your Navol or your Kit. Either one doesn't matter, ends up with the same sort of combo. So what we're going to do here is activate your 1-for-1, discarding a card, summon out a copy of your... where is it? Your Cobalt Sparrow to the field. This then searches for a copy of your Navol. So, like I said, if you opened a copy of just Warbler, you could have special summoned the Warbler, had level 1 on the field, then normal summoned a Navol or normal summoned a Kit, and had the exact same field. So, 1-for-1, or Warbler in combination with Navol or Kit, basically. And that includes your Bird Call, which can search for the Warbler. Alright, now we're normal summon the Navol. These 2 become your Link 2. And that sends the Navol to the graveyard, triggering the effect to give you a search. So we can search for another Tri-Brigade. Typically you'd probably search for Kit here just so you can put another card in the graveyard if you want to. But it doesn't really matter in this case. So there's a normal special summon out the Kit. Kit's effect is going to be banishing 2 from graveyard. Any 2, typically like to keep the Sparrow in grave. Summoning out the Rampager. Alright, from here you have a little bit of a choice. You look at your hand and you're like, my hand is absolutely complete dog shit, or it's a bunch of cool tech cards that you want to keep to use during your opponent's turn. If it's not a bunch of tech cards, it's a bunch of dog shit, you can use the effect of your Rampager to just simply discard 2 cards from your hand, get rid of these 2, and put a Navol on the field. Alright, we're going to do a bit of board clearing real quick, so we're going to get rid of this Kit here and get rid of this dude. Putting the Sheller on the field. You can use the effect of these 2 if you like to send a card to graveyard or shuffle a card, put it back in the deck, doesn't really matter. Alright, then we use the effect of this, banishing 2. Get rid of these 2. To put your double cross on the field. Then we can use the effect of your skill. Shuffling back a bunch of dudes. Drawing a card, and then we can make your Link 4 monster. Now there is one little downside to this combo, and that is your end field is going to end with a Navol on the field, which means you don't actually have enough slots for your Revolt, which is completely fine, because obviously your Dragon Lords can bounce the Navol to remove a card, but if your opponent has an MST or a Cosmic, they might just snipe your Revolt before you can use it. But again, if your hand had a bunch of tech cards anyway, you wouldn't have summoned this thing, you would have just gone straight into your Link 4 and not cared, but yeah. Yeah. Alright, use the effect, use the effect. This does technically give you a bit of a follow-up anyway, because your double cross can send this to the grave, which will trigger its effect during your opponent's turn. So it does technically give you some follow-up as well, but yeah. Alright, setting your 2 cards, and there is your end field. So same as always, got your bounce, got your revolt, got your negate, and you've got potentially follow-up by sending this to the graveyard for its effect. And for the final replay of the video, we just need a copy of your Bird Call in combination with one of your birds that isn't your Cobalt, so one of the more brickier birds. So we've got your Wagtail in hand here. So we're going to use your Bird Call to search for a copy of your Warbler. This also means you can actually just start with the Warbler in hand instead of the Bird Call, and it'll still do the same combo. Alright, special summoning the Warbler. You won't have to do this combo very often, because obviously it's a fairly specific sort of hand. We've opened one of the 2 birds in your deck list that are, well, 2 or 3 birds, depending on what deck list you're running. that opens one of the, one of the low chance to open birds. But if you do open this hand, it's still going to be a combo. Because you can search for your you make your reciting, whatever this thing's name is. Your recital starling. I completely got stuck on that name for a bit. Detaching, searches for your Navol. Then just like in the previous replay, we can normal summon Navol and make the Link monster. Which now puts enough materials in Graveyard, exactly 4, to summon out your big Tri-Brigade. Gonna grab your kit once again. Activate Blossom, summon Kit. Kit gonna be banished in 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Summon out your Omen. Not gonna use the effect of Omen. Link it off into your Link 2. This gives you a search for DD Crow. You can also send a card to graveyard if you like, if you want to thin out the deck a little bit, or just have more resources for potential banishes later on in future turns or something. Grabbing Crow. Alright, from here, once again, just like in the previous combo, if you look at your hand, you're like, this hand's got just a shit ton of just tech cards in it, you don't want to discard anything, you can just not discard anything here, but if you do want to go into your Ancient Warrior card, you can still go down that line as well. So we can use the effect of your Rampager to discard a couple of cards. Summoning your Navol. Putting it on field. Then we use the effect of Navol. Banishing 2. And there is the Ancient Warrior. Alright, then I'm going to clear up the field a little bit, making the Link 3 by going to you and you. You can leave the Navol on the field, but just like in the previous combo that leaves technically follow-up, but if you're playing as an MST or a Cosmic, you don't get to use your Omen before it gets popped, so it feels kind of bad, so I don't like running that risk, so I'm going to link it off. Use the effect of the Blossom to shuffle a card back, in this case very useful, because we actually opened the blue. Alright, now we can go into your Link 4 here. Bear Brum and this. Oh, sorry. Making you and this. Alright, so if you open the bird that doesn't search for a spell card, because you notice they'll have an extra card in hand here, you could use the skill beforehand to add a card to hand or draw an extra card and shuffle your stuff back. That way you'd have something to send back with the effects I'm about to use, with your Rampager. So if you didn't open the... If you didn't open specifically the... wherever it is, if I shuffled it back or banished it, wherever it is, the Wagtail, if you open like the Blackbird, I've forgotten what the name of it is, that doesn't have a search effect, then you could just use your skill effect beforehand, so you have an extra card in hand, so you don't have to shuffle back the Crow for the effect. Alright, if that makes any sense. Because you have to shuffle back a card here, which isn't particularly ideal if we just search for that Crow. We prefer to keep it in hand. So, add this to hand, shuffle back a card, which could be the card you add to hand via the skill. Alright, set in the card, I'm going to use the skill here. So you grab your cards back. Typically going to grab the Link monsters if we can, but not touching the Link 3, because that's what you use with the Revolt. Alright, and that's your end field. You got your Bounce, your Negate, your Revolt, your Crow, all that kind of stuff, and even got an extra card in hand with this particular replay. Alright guys, that's going to do it for these combos. Hope you guys enjoyed them. If you did, leave a like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. I have a Crystal Beast video planned for tomorrow, so if you want to see that, make sure to subscribe. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hope you see the next one. Laters.
Hey, big brother, can I watch SpongeBob? Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis. Oh.